If you've ever run into a human off of a human-controlled planet, you've probably been introduced to at least one the Xenos call Human Daiyv. Every ship, settlement, station, outpost, or bar that has at least one human will have a Human Daiyv floating around. You even run into women who are introduced as Human Daiyv. It doesn't matter what the predominant species is, if they introduce you to a human, there'll be a Human Daiyv in there. The humans never introduce themselves as Human Daiyv, it's only the Xenos who do it, and it's never just Daiyv or David. It's been like this since before we ever left Earth, and most people have either forgotten why or never cared about it in the first place. See, during our first face-to-face meeting, during our first contact, we sent, let's just say, highly trained people to represent humanity. The UN wanted disciplined individuals who could keep calm under pressure, who knew when to listen and when to talk. People who had authority to speak on behalf of humanity, but who were, frankly, deemed acceptable casualties should something go awry. They were good at their jobs, but they weren't deemed important by the powers that be. They were handpicked from different countries, so no one nation dominated the show. They were consummate professionals and gelled quickly, working together like a well-oiled machine. The tricky part was that two of them both had very similar family names, held equivalent ranks within their country's militaries, and were both named Mohammed. It apparently led to enough confusion on the team that they were both given new nicknames, Sam and Daiyv. That way one didn't get stuck with a new name while the other got to keep his given name, and there were no concerns over who was Mohammed 1 or 2. At work, they were Sam and Daiyv whether they liked it or not. Sam was a psychologist by training, a political animal by inclination, and was nominally in charge of negotiations. His job was to ask questions and get information, to keep the Xenos talking and learn as much as possible from them. By all accounts, he was a naturally born social engineer, charismatic, and just had a way of eliciting trust. Daiyv, meanwhile, had a degree in cultural anthropology, and was acting more as a protocol officer. He was supposed to field questions about human behaviour and societies, to let our new friends know how we as a species ticked, and where some of the lines were between species-wide behaviour and cultural norms. He was there to trickle out enough information to keep them interested and informed without giving away too much, and was far more introverted and quieter than Sam. When the team introduced themselves, the aliens all looked shocked at Daiyv's introduction, and immediately got happy agitated. They introduced themselves, and to our team's surprise, introduced their own Daiyv. Their Daiyv was apparently equivalent to a professor emeritus at one of their most prestigious higher education institutions, someone who knew quite a bit about his field of study. We initially thought it was a fantastic coincidence that our peoples both had identical sounding names across light years, languages, cultures, and species. Turns out, we didn't. They have a word in their own language, Daiyv, which they use as an honorific within their culture. It's about on par with a wise man, or maybe a rabbi or contemplative expert. Someone you can turn to when you need expertise or advice, someone whose experience and insight is worth heeding. Daiyvs aren't prophets, but they're more than simply mentors. It's considered a very good idea to listen when one tells you something. Daiyvs are so ingrained in their culture that they thought the concept was self-evident, so they never explained it. Sort of how when we see eggs in a recipe and know it means chicken eggs and not frog or ostrich eggs. It isn't something we think we have to explain, so it's just a blind spot to us. Since we brought a Daiyv, they thought we had the same concept and happily accepted it. The two words sound identical, after all, so much so that even our official transcript spelled it as Daiyv. It actually took decades for the mix-up to be noticed and corrected. By the time we figured it out, though, it was too late. The naming convention had already stuck. Well, suffice to say, with two Daiyvs there, the Xenos quickly anointed ours as Human Daiyv, to reduce confusion when speaking to him. Since those first meetings were all verbal communication, our team understood it as Human Daiyv. Of course, our guys just piled on, even after the meeting was done. Daiyv was Human Daiyv to the rest of his team forevermore. The fact that Human Daiyv was a constant presence through the first round of meetings just reinforced the Xeno's opinion that we were savvy and always had a Daiyv present at important events. Human Daiyv was treated as the de facto leader of our team by the Xenos, and the team makeup wound up being shifted around as a result of the interactions. Every subsequent round of meetings, the Xenos asked if our team had brought a human Daiyv. Sometimes our team had someone named Daiyv and he would earn the new moniker. Other times they didn't. If the team didn't have a human Daiyv when a random meeting started, by the time it was done, the Xenos had effectively identified and christened one, leading to some new poor bastard earning the nickname. Rather than risk ruffling feathers, the humans just roll with it. The records show that, privately, Colonel Sandra Wong was confused as hell at being referred to as Human Daiyv during her round of meetings. To her credit, though, she took being the first woman to earn the Human Daiyv name in stride. Eventually, it got to the point where the lead human was Human Daiyv, regardless of their name or how they were introduced, so the team leaders simply introduced themselves as Daiyv to save time and reduce confusion. When we broke free of Earth and scattered to the stars, the naming scheme followed us, to the point where even now any human leader, or even just a singular human on a crew, is Human Daiyv, regardless of what they were named at birth. Enough people actually named Daiyv somehow cemented the idea that we also had Daiyvs. While most species didn't even have the equivalent of Daiyvs themselves, they had become so used to the concept that even they started to call their closest human friend Human Daiyv. It's just a small facet of interstellar human-Xeno relations, but now you at least know why you run into so many Human Daiyvs out there. Just remember, the next time you meet a Human Daiyv, don't treat them or their name like a joke. Their opinion might carry quite a bit of weight with their friends and crewmates.